This week on London Real, we have the former chief evangelist of Apple and social media expert, Guy Kawasaki.
I'm not a big consumer of social media. I'm a producer of social media. Right. I don't think my high school English teacher would think I wrote 13 books in my career. Maybe you have writer's block because you don't have a damn thing to say. So then shut up. Empower people. That's what I do. The ultimate bottom line is, positioning, branding, powerful marketing platform, and you get that not by self-promotion. A book is an end in itself. It's not a means to an end. So I take a picture of whale sushi, okay? When people are freaking out, you should curate because it is too damn hard to create. Pushing out product through your social media is not necessarily the ultimate bottom line. Are you thinking short term or long term? I'm convinced now that it's better to be lucky than smart.
London Real presents Guy Kawasaki, The Art of Social Media.
When you get to be 60, you'll understand that you just don't give a shit.
Welcome back to London Real. I am here near the walled city of London, and check out what I got for you today. It is the old Roman walls that separated the city. Funny enough, I'm at a place called Bishopsgate, which was obviously one of the gates, and around here is also where they used to bury their dead bodies. So there you see a dead body, just a fake dead body there. But it just goes to show all the history that's literally under our feet here in this fabulous town. This week on the show, we have Mr. Guy Kawasaki. Guy is a fascinating guy indeed. Constantly speaks his mind, a laid-back dude of Hawaiian origin, and he was the chief evangelist for Apple from '83 to '87. He worked directly with Steve Jobs. He's got war stories about the Mac division, which was like a separate think tank that wasn't even making money when the rest of Apple was cranking out the Apple II Pluses and those kind of machines. And so he has fascinating stories about what it's like to work for Steve Jobs, the good, the bad, and the ugly. He's also a social media expert, and so he was on to talk about his new book, The Art of Social Media, and he's got a lot of smart things to say. I really like this book. I sped through it before he came over, and I learned a lot of things. Some things we're doing right on London Real, and some things we need to do more of. And so Guy's very smart. First thing he did was ask me how many YouTube subscribers we have, which is a great metric to try to find out who's the real deal and who's not. So we're around 80K right now, trying to get to 1 million by the end of the year, and we're working on that. But Guy was fantastic, really frank. At one point you can see in the trailer, he just was talking about what it's like to be a 60-year-old man, and it's really nice to get someone who's so prominent, who's speaks at like 50, 70 events around the world, but who's also just straight up cool and really laid back, kind of the essence of kind of an American, especially from the West Coast like me, or even as far away as Hawaii. So we got a special treat. He signed 5 copies of his book, The Art of Social Media, when he was in my studio, and we're going to be posting those to you, to whoever tweets me the best quote of the episode. So type that out, and I think the hashtag is Kawasaki quotes, I think is what it is. And so type that out, and we're going to send you a copy of that signed book by Guy from Penguin Publishers. It's only going to apply to you people in the UK because we can't pay for all that crazy postage. For that Tim Ferriss episode, I sent some dude in Brazil a book, and I nearly broke the bank. So just people in the UK, but you can tweet me quotes anyways. There's some great ones from this show, and so kind of that's our giveaway, to give something back to you guys and to promote Guy. So I hope you enjoy this as usual, and as Guy told me on the show, if you enjoy this, the best thing you can do for me is not only like it, I appreciate it, but it's also to share it. Share it with your Facebook friends, share it on Twitter, that kind of thing. And that really, I guess that kind of vouches for us and shows your friends that our content is valuable. So thanks for that. I appreciate it, and I hope you enjoy this show. I got some big news coming up, and I know I've been alluding to it a bit on certain shows, but I am heading to Los Angeles for next week, and I'm going to be going to see Mr. Tai Lopez. He's got a fantastic 2-day event that he's putting on that's going to be talking about how to get 1 million customers, and it's going to be his 10 tools on how you can start a multi-million-dollar business. And I'm a big fan of Tai Lopez. We got his second episode for London Real coming up, and at this conference that'll be in Los Angeles, and I hope you join me. There's a link down here below so you can come along. The price is ultra cheap. I think for 2-day conference it's under $100 or whatever pounds, wherever area you are. So it's really about the get together, and it's going to be like 8 hours a day. He's going to have some big hitters there. His mentor, Joe Salatin, Oren Klaff of Pitch Anything, who's been on my show as well. And it's just going to be a great meeting of the minds. It's at the Roosevelt Hotel, all class, as Tai would always do it. So come join me. I'm flying out to LA for this conference, and Tai and I will be announcing a partnership that we are forming that's going to be everything that you've been asking me for, which is really something more than just the shows, which is a place where you can find people that are thinking just like you, that want to take themselves to the next level, premium content, all sorts of other things that we've been talking about. So we'll be announcing that next week. I'm very excited, and so more to come. But please, if you're in the LA area, or maybe if you're even in San Diego or San Francisco, fly in for the weekend and come and see me, hang out, meet Tai, meet his mentors, meet Oren. It's going to be fantastic. So make it happen. I'm excited to go back to Cali and to go back to my roots. It's going to be a fantastic time. So check me out there, and it's going to be a very, very good time. I'm cruising through Spitalfields Market. I hope they don't kick me out of this place. Sometimes security's hawking me, so we'll see if I can stay with you. But I just want to give a shout out to the people that make this podcast happen. I just shot an episode in my kitchen making bulletproof coffee, so you can see how I do it. But if you're not familiar, it's the guys that have been longtime sponsors, and they make the coffee that's free of molds and toxins, mix it up with grass-fed butter and the brain octane oil. I just served some last night to my man Matthew Pritchard from Dirty Sanchez, and he had a sip. He didn't do anything crazy with it, and he loved it. Of course he did. So get your bulletproof on. The bulletproof diet is out. I got copies in my studio that I give out to people, and there you go. So that's kind of what happens there. I think I got some heat coming up here, and so that's what's happening with Bulletproof. And I just want to also give a big thanks out to the boys at Squarespace. And if you're not familiar with them, they are an all-in-one platform for making your website or online portfolio. And these guys make everything look fantastic. They make our site look amazing, where you can go to our episodes page and find out all the pictures of everyone on the show that looks good. And my better half, the woman that keeps me in line, she just started her own food blog on there called mygourmetjournal.com, and that's all done with Squarespace. And she's doing it and dropping in photos and everything, and it looks fabulous. She did her logo on there with the logo creator, so it's dope, and you can go on and try it for free without a credit card. So go to squarespace.com. You can use the code London and get 10% off if you want to buy. And I just always tell people, go on to Squarespace and you can have a great looking site. With the new Squarespace 7, you can choose from like 16 different versions of how you want it to look, whether you're a restaurant or a food blog or something. So I chose kind of one for her, and it's looking great. She's got episodes up there of some of the food that I get to eat. So, big love going out there for that. And that's it. I've been tweeting out some of the videos from Guthrie Castle, from the man Dan Pena, the $50 billion man. And I must say, I'm getting a little nostalgic. I kind of miss that week I spent up there in October of Dan hammering away, and you can see all the guys in suits. And yeah, Dan has stepped up his video game big, as expected. If you want to learn something from Dan is a lot like Tai in that standpoint, is that they take what works and they double down, triple down on the investment, and they invest in themselves. And so Dan did that in a big way with his video, and it looks great. And those guys look like they're having fun up there and getting beaten like rented mules. So there you go. I've been sending out more of those videos, and yeah, big love to those guys at the castle. I hope you finish off with a great week wearing your kilts and all that. So there you go. I'm going to wind this up, and now I'm going to leave you with the one and only Mr. Guy Kawasaki, the king, the evangelist of social media. This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. My guest today is Guy Kawasaki, who is the chief evangelist for Canva, an online graphic design tool. Formerly, you were an advisor to the Motorola business unit of Google and chief evangelist of Apple, reporting to Steve Jobs. You are the author of The Art of Social Media, which is this book here. We'll be talking about this very soon. The Art of the Start, Ape, author, publisher, entrepreneur, Enchantment, and 9 other books. This man is prolific. You have a BA from Stanford and an MBA from UCLA, as well as an honorary doctorate from Babson College. Guy, welcome to London Real.
Thank you. That's me in a nutshell.
That's you, right? It's good to have a concise bio.
Yeah,
you know, right?
That's concise.
It's pretty concise. It could go more than that. What is, when you think of London, when you're back in San Francisco or traveling around, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Wagamama.
Wagamama, yeah, okay.
I love Wagamama. Good, fast, and cheap. I wish software was like that.
I think that was probably one of the earlier adopters of good fast food here in London. You know, fast food, yeah, it's probably the wrong way to call it fast food because it is quality food, right? And when you think of London, do you think of startups and do you think of tech, or has that opinion changed over the years?
When I think of London,
you can give it to us straight. I know you like to give it to people straight.
When I think of London, I lived here for about 6 weeks in the middle of the .com days.
Oh, okay. So 99, 2000, something like that?
Yeah, around there.
Okay.
And I loved it.
You did?
We had a flat in the Mayfair area, and I love Grosvenor House.
Oh, yeah. I
just love London. I love Harrods. I love was it Selfridges? Is that what it's called?
Selfridges, yeah.
I could move here.
You could. Yeah, I mean, they say it has a kind of a feel like San Francisco, or maybe a weather like San Francisco. Did we have a .com boom here? There was a few big companies that were kind of happening. Boo.com.
Boo, yeah.
Boo. Man, that was a big, I remember they put a lot of money into that one, didn't they? Was that Scandi? Scandi inspired, maybe?
I think so.
Yes,
yeah. Yes.
Okay, and what were you doing here for that?
Well, theoretically, Garage.com, which is the company I had back then, we were going to have an office here. And so we were recruiting and building a conference and, all that kind of stuff. It was the worldwide domination plan.
Okay. And so that was 6 weeks.
Didn't we all have one of those worldwide domination plans?
No, I know. We definitely did. And what about, I mean, we've come a long way on the curve. You're actually near the quote-unquote Silicon Roundabout here in London. And this is actually the heart of tech because it used to be kind of cheap office space.
Yeah.
And I have another show called Silicon Reel, and we talk about, the tech startup scene here. And London is finally getting a little bit of respect globally for a lot of things like fintech, since the banking area is right next to this kind of tech area. But I mean, in general, when you think of London and tech, do those go together, or is that changing?
I think it's changing. I can't tell you it's synonymous.
Right. Okay.
That would be a lie. But I think it's changing, and partially it's a general change that I don't think people think that Silicon Valley has a monopoly on brains and ideas anymore. Or maybe they never did, but I don't think it's true that it's a double negative. I don't think it's true that all the brains and all the ideas come out of Silicon Valley. Because the world is flat, and your team could be anywhere. You could be doing, the sun could never set on your 5-person startup. You don't have to have a 50,000-person startup for that to be true anymore.
Right. And what about social media? Do you think we are at the same level as the U.S.? Do you think we lag a couple of years over here? And I'm talking about Europe as well. I mean, UK is one of the most connected countries. I think we have a higher speed. I think there's more e-commerce per capita in this country. But I don't know if we're up the curve or if we need to read this book.
It's hard to judge because,
it is, right?
Well, I'll tell you, Cadbury does a very good job. So Cadbury's here, right?
Yeah.
I hope. And it's hard to judge. Well, there's several reasons. One very practical reason is I'm not a big consumer of social media. I'm a producer of social media.
Right.
So I can't tell you I follow these 1,000 people or sites and companies, and I see every tweet and every post. It's just not true. I'm so busy pushing out my own stuff that I'm not there sitting, looking for interesting stuff.
And that's
curation.
true.
Curation is a big deal. I mean, it's a lot of work.
And that's part of the book. I want to jump into that. And you have 125,000 tweets, and you mentioned this in the book about the average number to do. And it's funny because I was reading the book today, and you said if you don't get some blowback, as in some complaints, something's wrong.
Yes.
And I try to tell my guys that, and they're like, Brian, they're complaining. I'm like, it's 3 people.
Yeah.
And for you say, look at the big picture, and if you're getting lots of shares and everything like that.
Well, at some level, it's math, right? So I typically send out my tweets 3 times, 8 hours apart. Not all of them, but many of them.
Right. So the same tweet 3 times.
Yeah, and you know, we've used Bitly or unique links or whatever, and we looked, and basically we get 3x the engagement if you tweet out 3 times. What a concept, right? I mean, there's a reason that CNN and ESPN and all those places that they keep running the same clip. And it's not because they're stupid, and it's not because they don't have other things to run. Well, maybe it's that, but it's because someone who's watching the highlights of the 2015 NBA All-Star game at 8 a.m. is not going to TiVo it in case he doesn't watch at 8 a.m. I mean, so you got to keep running it because people are up at different times, and even if they're all up, even if they're all on the West Coast, they all got up at 7 a.m. Some people check the internet at the end of the day, some in the middle of the day, some beginning of the day. So you've got to do that. And then let's say when you triplicate your tweets, some people are going to say, well, you're a spammer. You did this 3 times. And it's like, I got to tell you something, man. If somebody who follows you notices you did something 3 times in 24 hours, it says more about that person than you, because that person doesn't have a life. I mean, how is it possible that you could notice that I did something 3 times, 24 hours apart? That's insane.
This is refreshing to hear from me. Because also, I always say you need to follow more people on Twitter. Because if I am one of the only feeds that's coming up, then...
Exactly.
Or you need to do something else with your life.
That too. I said, okay, so, you go to Best Buy, or I don't know, whatever, you go to here.
Yeah, Argos.
Okay. And you buy a TV, right? And you take it home, and you don't put in cable or satellite. So it's only whatever's over the air. And you can only get 3 stations over the air. And one of them is like 24-hour shopping network. So you turn the TV on, and 1 out of 3 times it's the home shopping network thing, right? And then you're like all pissed off because, my God, every time I turn it on, somebody's selling me a tourmaline necklace or, earrings or, a new kind of blender or a new kind of knife. And like, I'm so sick of that. It's just spamming me. It's like, well, why don't you get cable, asshole, and get in like 100 more channels? Maybe it would be more interesting. Whose fault is that? So,
that's a good analogy, because people, I think they come from that reference of, I expect content to be created for me and customized to me.
Well, that's called the attitude that, like, my time is valuable, and you should do something that's perfect for me because my time is so valuable, right? It's like this sense of entitlement that, how dare you? I did a thing yesterday where through a company, I offered PDFs of 4 of my books, right? So like basically 25% of my books I gave away for free. And this guy says, but that company asked so much personal information, how dare you ask for personal? Like, okay, so, if you don't want the 4 free books, don't freaking fill out the thing. I mean, what do you want from my life?
I like that. There's a limit. So you want to engage with social media, but you don't want to take it too far.
No, well, when you say take it too far, you mean bend over, right?
Yeah, I guess that's what
I don't bend over on social media.
You mentioned your writing there. How do you write so much? I mean, you're very prolific. Do you have a routine? When you go to create a book, do you shut yourself down from everyone?
Yeah.
Or are you constantly creating? Because some people hate writing books. I know Tim Ferriss, people are like, when's your next 4-hour book? And he's like, I become a horrible hermit when I'm writing a book. I don't talk to anybody. Is that the way you are?
No, I don't have that luxury, because if I'm chief evangelist of Canva, or I make 50 to 75 speeches a year. So it's not like I can go, like into some Tibetan monastery and just write all day and be a vegan or whatever. I don't know, I have 4 kids. My kids don't care if I'm writing a book or not. They just, they got to go to school. They got to get picked up.
They're not impressed with you, and they
got to
don't
go
care.
to soccer. Yeah, they don't give a shit. And so that's not my reality. Listen, I've written 13 books, and every one of them is hard because, first of all, I tell myself, don't try to answer every email, but I just can't. I just so tempted to try to answer every email. And so I'm trying to answer every email, and like, I'm one of these kind of people that, I really can't start writing until everything else is done.
Okay.
Have you ever been that? So like, you get up in the morning and say, today, I'm going to put everything aside. I'm going to write all day, right? I say, but let me check my email. Let me check Twitter. Let me check Google+. Next thing you know, it's 2 o'clock, right? And I have actually used applications that you can tell it, lock me out of this domain for the next X hours. So I put Twitter on there, Facebook on there, Google+. So now I cannot use those services.
Does that work for you, or do you find another way?
Well, and so what it does is you cannot use those services, but obviously they have to have an override, right? So you have to reboot your computer.
Okay.
Right. So the long and the short of it is, thank God that I can write really fast, because I am not writing efficiently. And I have to say, like, you know who David Allen is?
Yeah,
GTD guy?
Yeah.
If he looked at my habits, like, I'm doing everything ass backwards, right? So the stuff that I make the most money, I put the least effort. So I make probably the most money speaking.
Right.
Do you think I spend 5 hours preparing every speech, rehearsing every speech and all that? No, like, I get off the plane, in the car on the way to the speech, I'm looking at it and like, boom.
Let's talk about your speaking. You are a very good speaker. I watched your TEDx talk in Berkeley. Yeah. It was very entertaining. And so you're very good at speaking, but with the tech audience, that means you're 10 times better than the tech guys, because,
How hard could that be?
I know. Because to quote you, you say most high-tech speakers suck.
Yes.
So when they see you, you're just like a giant. How did that work?
The valley of blind people, or whatever, the one-eyed giant who's king, or whatever that saying is.
You're the one-eyed guy. Yeah. I mean, was that always a skill you had when you were evangelist at Apple? Were you speaking then?
No, quite the contrary. Okay. When I was an evangelist at Apple, it was very intimidating, because you work for arguably the greatest presenter in the history of mankind, right?
Was he good back then too?
Oh yeah. Okay. So it was very intimidating, and you know what? My speaking ability came about sheerly because of volume. I just did it so often; it became second nature. I can't tell you I had these, special coaching sessions, and, I videotaped everything and analyzed and all that. No, you didn't. It's just tonnage.
Okay.
It's just
tonnage.
It's just tonnage. And now I'm perfectly comfortable.
Yeah, you're ultra comfortable up there.
I really.
And it shows. And it doesn't look like practice. It just looks like, it looks like you don't give a shit.
Which well, that's not necessarily good.
But it's attractive, though, because it's captivating. You're like, all right, well, this guy doesn't need to tell me this, so now I'm going to listen. And the content's not too bad either.
Well, thank you.
The big one that caught me was make meaning, not money. And I'm surprised I hadn't heard that before, but that was your first one, your Berkeley talk. And I don't know, I'm sure you hear that a lot, but it really resonated with me as far as create the value.
And then you'll make money, right?
You'll make money. And then you furthered it and said, if you really try to go find money, you're only not going to find the money, and you're not going to create value.
Yeah,
right?
And you're going to fail, and you're going to have a bunch of MBAs, right? So.
Right. And so that kind of, I guess that kind of rings through. And your writing, is that something that you've gotten better with as well? I mean, I think your English teacher told you when you were in high school.
Yeah, right, I'd never make it, right?
And the key to writing is editing. Is that what he told you? Or
I've come to that conclusion.
Okay.
It's like the story you hear, Michael Jordan got cut from his high school basketball team, right?
Yeah.
So I was cut from the high school English team.
Is that bad?
No. I don't think my high school English teacher would think I wrote 13 books in my career. So writing for me, it really is, I have basically 2 stages. Stage 1 is you vomit it out as fast as you can. Well, actually, it's 3 stages. So I start with an outline. I have a very organized mind. So I start with an outline that is very detailed. And then I just vomit out the details into that thing. And then I just buff and edit. So it's kind of, removing the undigested food from the vomit. It's left with nothing but nutrients. It's interesting metaphor.
That is the first time I've heard that for writing.
Yeah, well.
It sounds about right. I'm trying to picture that.
So that's how I work. I don't know how other writers work. There's these theories of writers that, you sit on this beach with your fountain pen and your parchment, and your kids are all straight A students, and your house is perfectly neat, and the dishes all washed, and now you're gonna write. Like, I don't know, what planet are those people?
Doesn't work that way.
Nobody does that. I don't.
I think it was Neil Strauss that said there is no writer's block. It's just you putting too much importance on what you're writing that day. And so like people get all, I'm writer's block, and he's like, just write.
Well, that's one of my favorite books is a book called If You Want to Write by Brenda Ullin.
Okay.
And her thing is, don't believe the criticism that you're not trained, you don't have a PhD, you're not educated, whatever. Also, the self-criticism that I can't write. And just if you want to write. Now, I completely agree with that. That book changed my life. But I would add something to that, which is, maybe you have writer's block because you don't have a damn thing to say. So then shut up. I mean,
there's that old saying that everyone has at least one book in them.
I don't think that's true.
But for some people, it should stay there.
Yeah, and it should stay there. Although, I'm a big advocate of self-publishing because you never know, until you get it out. But what I don't like is there are many business people in particular who believe they're going to write a book. And the reason why they want to write a book is they want to position themselves as a thought leader, as an expert, as a guru, so that they can get more speeches and, whatever, right? And I had a meal with an author who did this and was expressing frustration with how hard it was and how few copies he sold. And I said to him, it's because you have bad karma. To me, a book is an end in itself. It's not a means to an end. So when you write a book that the goal is to communicate knowledge, that's when the book is going to do well. But right now you're writing books because you want to say, hey, I'm an expert. I wrote a book, hire me. And that's bullshit. It's bad karma.
And people can smell that energy, right?
Yeah.
They know. They even know on social media posts. They can tell if you're pushing it or if...
Well, especially because those kind of people, right? So let's say the guy's name is Joe Schmo. So he writes a book called The Schmo Way, and it's published by Schmo Press. We're seeing a trend here, right? It's probably not focused on the reader. Duh.
Right. Right. You said that in this book, and we're going to jump into it now, but you said when you're curating, publish the content that they want to read, not what you want them to read.
Which is very different usually.
Yeah.
And usually 180 degrees apart.
Yeah, I just thought about it myself today, and I was like, damn, have I been doing that? Because it's hard sometimes to put yourself in the place of the customer when you're an entrepreneur. You're always thinking about the bottom line, and you're thinking about your investors, and,
Well, I think you can think of your investors and the bottom line and come to the conclusion I did, which is if you want to be successful with social media, the ultimate bottom line is, positioning, branding, powerful marketing platform, and you get that not by self-promotion. So, in a sense, the bottom line can still be your guide. You just have to understand that pushing out product through your social media is not necessarily the ultimate bottom line. That if you take the long view and the big picture, you may decide that promoting less now is better because it allows you to create a platform that you can use later that is going to be more powerful. So ultimately the bottom line does benefit. It's just, are you thinking short term or long term?
Right. And that's what this book is all about, right? The Art of Social Media. It's here. We're actually going to be giving out 5 signed copies of this. And if you tweet us the best quote from the episode, we're going to pick the top 5. You like that? I'm using social media and I'm giving them what they want. Can you talk a bit about this book? Because, you do talk about, some basic stuff like the ideal avatar and profiles. Yeah. And I love your thing about mantra. I want to get into that as well. But can you tell me how you kind of start off the book and what those things are about?
Well, the book is... It's organized by sort of functional areas, right? So, how to set up your profile well. And it's all tips. There's a very, very active and purposeful removal of what I call duhisms, right? Because I've seen many social media books, and they say, well, you need to engage people. You need to be honest. You need to be open. And duh. I mean, as opposed to what? Don't engage people, lie to them. So
you
there's
skip
none of
that.
these. Yeah, there's none of these duh-isms in there. And, you know, a lot of social media books say you need to have a good profile. So what the hell does that mean? Like, if you gave this book to your mom, or you gave a social media book to your mom who wants to, you know, be better on social media, and then she opens up the book and it says, you need to have a good, effective profile. And she's going to call you up and say, well, okay, I understand that. You know, as opposed to the piece of crap profile I have now, okay, I understand I need a good, effective one. What exactly does that mean? How do I achieve that? So she needs to know, okay, so part of a good, effective profile is a good avatar. Duh. So what's a good avatar? Good avatar is primarily your face, lit from the front, in focus, a big picture, not, you know, you took a group shot and you cropped everybody else out and now it's just your face. So when people click on it, it pixelates out. You know, mom, okay, this is what it, and you want it asymmetrical. Why don't you smack dab in the middle?
So no mug shots. That's right. Okay.
So that's, mom, that's what makes a great avatar. These are, you know, look at your avatar. Is it front focus? Is it lit well? Is it, you know, in focus? Is it a big picture? Is it asymmetrical? Are you smiling? You know, that's it. So I can't get any more tactical than that.
Right.
So this book is tactical.
Right. It's, very tactical and practical. And then you go on to your profile, which is kind of a slightly more information about you, kind of your big
It's
kind of
like your
vanity pick and your profile pick. I mean, look at guys. That's the best thing. If you look at his Twitter picture, there's, you know, the back of Richard Branson, and he's talking and engaging with people, and he looks like the man, right? It's that simple, right?
That cover photo, or, you know, I switch every once in a while, but maybe I'm just hallucinating and imagining it, but I'm trying to tell a story there, right? And I'm not trying to tell a story that I own a Porsche, or I'm not trying to tell a story that I have 4 kids, or, you know, I'm a surfer or whatever. That picture there, I hope people say, you know, guy is credible, or at least guy knows Richard Branson, or, you know, and even that, it's very subtle, because you see Richard Branson from the back, right? So you kind of need to recognize the hair and all that. I'm not saying, you know.
So it's subtle, because if it was a picture of you and Richard like this, the message would be completely different, right?
Yeah.
Right.
You know, because you know he poses for 50 of those a day, right?
Yeah,
with
he does
total
a lot
strangers.
of pictures. He does a lot of pictures.
Yeah.
There's even cardboard cutouts of him that I've seen people pose with, and they're making a joke, but then when you look, it's a cardboard cutout.
Yeah. So that's an element of a good profile. So your avatar should convince people that you're likable, trustworthy, and competent. Your avatar. So focus on your face, because, you know, people don't get that from your chest. And then that cover photo should tell a story. But the avatar should not tell a story. That's just about your face. The cover photo should tell a story. The story of, okay, so if you are family focused, then that's where you put your family. Not in your avatar, in your cover photo. And, you know, if you're a public speaker, then, you know, like me, or an evangelist, I show myself on my knees polishing Richard Branson's shoes. That's a story, right? And that's what's going on there.
Talk to me about mantra. It's something I was thinking about. You mentioned this in your TEDx talk at Berkeley, about company having a mantra that's very different than a couple things. It's very different than their slogan and different from their mission statement. So what is it?
Yeah, so mantra is a 2 or 3 word explanation for why you exist, why your product or your service exists. It's not a mission statement, because mission statements are 40 or 50 words long, and, you know, basically they're all interchangeable. Everyone says to like return adequate financial benefits to our shareholders while empowering employees to reach their self-actualization goals, while, you know, exceeding the expectations of our customers and not killing any dolphins, right? I mean, that's like every mission statement McKinsey ever wrote. So I think it should be only 2 or 3 words. So some mantras. I think FedEx's mantra should be peace of mind. Because when you absolutely positively want something someplace, it's FedEx.
But that isn't their mantra. That's your version of
that's
their mantra.
mine. That's what I think it should be.
Right.
Wendy's has this long mission statement, and, you know, Wendy's mantra should be healthy fast food. Nike has a great slogan, just do it. I think it stands for authentic athletic performance. So, you know, what's Guy Kawasaki's mantra? Guy Kawasaki's mantra is empower people. That's what I do. My writing, my speaking, my investing, my advising, that's what I do. I empower people. That's what I want on my gravestone. So in 2 words, I can sum up my life.
Right. So people should be thinking now 3 words, 4 max. Keep it really tight.
And put it on, there's a place on every social media profile where you like have this little introductory sentence, right? And that's where people do stupid things like they say, master of the universe, or what other stupid ones are there? I mean, a lot of them are just bragging.
Most of them are trying hard, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Hard, right?
Exactly,
and it's obvious to us humans.
So I think that's where you put, why do you exist? I exist. Guy Kawasaki exists to empower people.
Right. Now I'm thinking about mine, but I'll get over that later.
Okay.
We already covered the volume of posting on social media, and it's nice to hear you say it, that you want to err on the big side. And in the book, you kind of give some rough ideas. I think it's like 25 tweets a day and certain Facebook posts a day, and you've run the numbers. And so it's interesting to see how you set that up, and you talk about buffer and all of those different ways. But you also say, be valuable and be interesting. I mean, when it comes to curating, what's your guideline for what people should do? Or a lot of people don't even know they should curate.
Well, so first of all, you should curate because it is too damn hard to create, right? If in one part of the book I'm telling you should post maybe 25 times a day, I don't expect you to come up with 25 original articles a day, because I can't do that. I can't do 25 a year, much less a day. So you have to curate, and you have to understand that curation is a very valuable service, because there's a lot of information out there, and helping people find it is almost as valuable as writing it itself. So curation is very effective. It's good for everybody. It's good for you because people respect you for finding something they need. It's good for people because you found something they need. And it's good for the source because you're sending them more readers. Everybody is a winner. It's triple bottom line. So I love to curate. And I think the test for curation is, once I share it, will my followers share it to their followers?
Right.
That's a good test.
That's a test. Right?
Because, to use a restaurant analogy, so if you go to a restaurant and you eat and you tip the person 10%, that's kind of like socially acceptable. In the US, it's a socially acceptable expectation, really. Now, so that's one level. That means you didn't suck, I didn't hate the food. That's what that means, right? On the other hand, if you tell your friends, my God, I had the best ramen last night at Wagamama. And you tell them, you gotta go eat at Wagamama, you gotta eat at Nobu, or you gotta eat wherever, I don't care, whatever. You are risking your reputation. Because now, if I tell somebody you gotta go to Wagamama, and they go there and they hate it, guy looks like a, jerk, right? So now, I'm risking my reputation when I tell you to eat at Wagamama. I'm risking my reputation when I send a post out that Guy originally posted. And so if you are willing, if I post a story and you're willing to share with your followers, it means that you're betting on my taste. And so my taste better be good.
That's the metric to track, not the likes. It's the shares.
It's the reshares.
Right.
I think a like is like tipping the valet $1.
Dude, when I get favorites on Twitter, they drive me crazy. I'd rather just don't do it.
Yeah. Well, no, but favorites are but those are the people who are going to see more of your posts, right? You mean a like or a favorite?
No, when they favorite your tweet, or they.
+1
or it's just like they kind of put that little orange star on there.
Yeah,
so no one knows they did it. They were just like saying, "Oh, thanks."
Well, I think that's like tipping the valet $1,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, it
but
is.
when they take your posts or your curation and they reshare it, that's when you know they really liked it, right?
Okay. So
that's why if you look at even the most popular articles, it has I don't know, 200 comments, 500 pluses, and 50 reshares, right? I mean, and the most valuable one is the reshare.
Okay.
Because anybody can say, yeah, I like that.
Right.
But how many say, hey, I'm going to tell everybody I like that? That's a big difference.
So share first metric, comment the next metric, and then the like?
I don't. After share, it's two-way tie.
Okay.
For second. I don't know.
It goes down the tubes.
Yeah.
The Fortune 500 companies right now, what percentage of them are doing this right?
0.
Really? You said Cadbury.
Well, first of all, who am I to judge right or wrong, right?
I think you're okay to judge.
But, well, I don't know if they're doing it right or wrong, but I don't think they're using it optimally. They could do more. And one of the reasons that they don't do more is because they are, with social media, you can either have an attitude of, I'm going to maximize my return or I'm going to minimize my loss. And I think many large brands, they're in the minimize my loss thing, right? So they don't ever want to piss anybody off. They don't ever want to have a faux pas. They don't ever want to do anything wrong. Because, you know, if 5 people say you suck and 5,000 people are silent but like what you do, you're more worried about the 5 people who publicly said you suck, because you think, oh, if 5 people said it, you know, really maybe 5,000 people believe that, but they didn't bother to say it. And I got to tell you, I just don't believe that. In this day and age of social media, if somebody thinks you suck, you're going to know.
Right. So they need to be less conservative and just be open to the fact that, that this is the new way of doing business.
Yeah, and like, you know, even if you, let's say you do make a terrible mistake, you know, I could pretty much guarantee you, because there's so much action, in 30, 40 days, no one's going to remember. Like, if you went to most people and said, okay, which airline is the airline that had a viral song about breaking guitars? Okay? Obviously, it's United. How many people do you think remember it was United?
I didn't know.
Okay, and, you know, I did. I knew it was United. I still fly United.
Right.
So, you know, so that's one example. Another example is, you know, Microsoft CEO makes this huge faux pas, and, you know, somebody asked him a question about how women should get promoted, and he said, you know, depend on karma, right? Like, if you sat there and said, okay, what's the most dumbass thing you could say? That'd be right up there, right? Okay, so now that was 60 days ago.
I love how you give it to a straight guy.
So 60 days later, most people won't remember. You know, who was it? Was CEO of, was it, you know, was it Microsoft or Southwest Airlines?
He was brand new, so that one will stick with him for a little while.
But I mean, the point is, you know, almost in the sense, the minute you press send, things are decaying.
Right.
Right? So, do you think a year from now, if that guy at Microsoft is successful, you think they're going to hold that against him? They're not going to remember. I mean, it's like, it doesn't matter.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
Right. And it's
really
definitely not going to affect the brand. Right.
No.
Right. It might affect his personal brand a little bit.
A little bit.
A little bit. But even that'll decay.
Well, if he fails at Microsoft, it's going to be one of the nails in the coffin. Right. But even if he didn't do that and he failed at Microsoft, he's still dead.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm not saying you should be flippant and, you know, do all that, but I do stuff. Okay, so I was in Oslo this week, right?
Yeah.
And so I go to this dinner with the people who are hosting the speech. This is their CEO executive team. And they know I love sushi. So they send out for sushi from the best sushi place in I think the world, Alex Sushi. And one of the courses is whale. Okay? So I take a picture of whale sushi, okay? And people are freaking out. You know, guy is a whale killer, right? Doesn't matter that this species of whale is not endangered, you know. It doesn't matter that, you know, they eat chicken and beef 3 meals a day, but, you know, like, there's a picture of whale sushi. So, how many people, I have 10 million followers, if you count everything up.
Right.
How many followers do you think I lost that day? You know, like 100. Well, I'll tell you a very interesting thing. So, roughly 75 people said, you know, whale killer, how dare you, endangered species, I'm never going to follow you, you've lost credibility, you know, blah, blah, blah.
75% right? Of the comments were that.
No, 75 people.
People, okay, people, right.
So, of 10 million, 75 said that. Of course, that's kind of not fair, because you're assuming that 10 million saw it, right? But it's not true at all, right? But anyway.
What is that, 2% of those?
Yeah,
5%
if
of those?
that,
That, okay.
So anyway, so 75 angry people. But then I looked at the pluses and the likes for that picture, and it was like 220 or 250. So I translate this, so you're telling me that 75 people were really pissed off,